Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the podcast. And we're coming to you from the Transnet Pavilion here at the Africa Rail Conference. I'm now joined by Kameshini Pathar, who is the Chief Engineer R&D at Transnet Engineering.
Thank you,
Great
Martin.
to see you, Kameshini. I say Kemi, right?
It's Cam.
It's
yes.
Cam, yeah. Cam, thank you so much. What I wanted to talk to you about is what you do. I loved your presentation earlier. Just can you explain to us what you do at R&D really? When we are doing real work, what do you guys do?
I play. I get to play.
Yeah.
I get to really experience every engineer's dream, which is to advance technology in South Africa. And that's what we do. So we look at the future while grounding ourselves in the present. How can we advance technology in the transport industry and basically make us more operationally efficient and hopefully generate some revenue in the process.
And I liked the presentation because there you were talking about innovation through digitization, right?
Yes.
How do you innovate through digitization? What did we do before the digital era? How did we innovate?
It's a very interesting question because until we had computing, we did things independently of each other. And now with digitization, we're able to have a more holistic systems view of what's going on. So to answer your question, we did things independently and in silence. Now digitization gives us an opportunity to have a more centralized, more optimized way of managing innovation and even managing performance. So that's really the heart of it.
And I saw you were talking to us about the system called Iris.
Yes.
Tell me about that because that was fascinating.
So Iris is our launch platform. It is essentially developed in conjunction with Microsoft Azure. So it is a highly adaptable format and all of our people have been skilled on Azure. And essentially we're trying to use it as an integrating platform to give data analytics, predictive analytics for us to be able to do artificial intelligence and even some machine vision and basically push Transnet forward and our customers forward a little bit. It's a fascinating time to be in Transnet. Iris, like you know, is for your eye. So it's essentially looking at data. So that's why it does have an acronym, but engineers like acronyms with meanings, you know that. Things that rhyme.
I saw the people who are benefiting from it, that it talks to various sections in the system. Can you explain that to us?
So analytics or data analysis has really three areas that you can impact. So you can start with the one that Transnet Engineering can be in the future, which is an OEM. So if you work in a collaborative manner with OEMs through common interfaces, you can provide information to the OEM about their system that they don't necessarily know about. So that's one area. The other is, you heard Dr. Emma speaking earlier about maintenance. So the data analytics around maintenance, that helps railway and port operators, or basically operators in general, make better decisions about when to maintain. And of course the operator themselves. The thing with maintenance in South Africa and generally in the world currently is that it's a very time-based thing. Even your car is time-based, right? 15,000 kilometer on your car, pull it into the service center.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you need to do something or not, it has to come in at 15,000 Ks. That means your service plan is being depleted faster than it necessarily has to be. Now, if you had condition monitoring and the data around it, say, you know what, Milton's car doesn't need to go in for 15,000, but we think at 18,000. That's when it needs to come in because there are different things that need to be done. And we can focus his service on the things that are wrong with his car. All of a sudden, your service plan is a lot longer and you can use it better. And that creates operational efficiency for the maintainer or the owner of the asset, as well as the operator. It's a win-win situation.
The other thing that caught my eye, to excuse the pun, is the facial recognition, which you said you can expand on it and use it in other areas.
Yeah, the capability, yes. So we can start, once you know how to train something, once you've trained a neural network, you've got the skill set and the people, and that's the most important thing about this whole thing, right? You've got to have the people to do this. So once you've got facial recognition, you can start taking that idea of learning and deep learning and say, so now I know that my train arrives, this is how my train arrives at a particular terminal. And we can look at the data in the past and use it to train the system for the future. So now you've got a train that departs hot as hell, and based on the predictions and the analysis that you've done with the AI and the deep learning, you can now say, well, I have a 70% confidence ratio of that train arriving in this period of time. And once you start operating like that, you start moving the logistics arena far faster than you could in the past. So it's a very exciting time. It's also a very disruptive time. But we think of these things and we think we're going to roll them out everywhere. And South Africa has its challenges that you must understand that inhibits the ability to do this. And that's something that we really need to focus on, and that's enabling the infrastructure, the comms that we need. So it's not just for the general public. We as operators, as service providers, as technology owners, we need the data and we need to be able to have the comms to be able to do this, because you're transferring very quickly. It doesn't help that you can't get data in real time. You need it to be quick, and that is where we're really advancing South Africa forward. So to be able to do this for us, it means that the comm system has to be there for the general public. So win-win for South Africa and advancing the South African economy.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in the idea that all this technology, all this fancy stuff, still requires the normal human being. And I was quite impressed by your use of the teddy bear. Tell us about that thinking.
So basically, what the team did there was they did validation. Okay. So validating means that you take something that is very similar to what you have and make sure that your system doesn't recognize it. So to make sure that it's smart enough to understand. So we took a teddy bear, which has eyes and ears and a little bit of a nose and a mouth, and then you could basically check if your system was fooled into believing that was a human.
You try to trick it.
Yes. We've also turned bottles upside down. My next trick that I want to bring, but nobody wants to let me, is bring my dog to work and see if they recognize that. For some reason, they just won't let me.
That's pretty impressive. But how far are we in the work that you do to realizing the full potential of what we're talking about nanotechnology and?
I think we're very far. And it's not because the technology...
But in the 21st century, very far means around the corner.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the reason that I say it's far is because South Africa has a set of challenges. I'm lucky enough to be studying, thanks to Transnet and TITA, and both of them have... One of the things that I was looking at is technology and just basically our general economy. And South Africa has to use that technology to advance its economy. If we don't do that, we're not going to achieve goals. So when I say we're far, it's because I don't think we've come to a general realization of how to utilize the amazing capabilities that we have to make the lives of the general population of South Africa better. And it's that driving of the economy that I say is a bit faster, but we're making great advances towards it. The draft rail policy allows more players in. Hopefully we get better comm systems in. You're looking even throughout power providers and renewable energy. So South Africa is making strides to enabling that economy. We just got to see it through now.
And the good thing there is that you've got the backing of the leadership.
Absolutely.
Transnet's leadership is pushing this forward. You've got them, they've got your back as you develop and you disappear into the laboratory.
You know, you can't do anything without support, particularly in a state-owned enterprise. And I'm very lucky to have a Transnet leadership across from group through to my OD, that's very supportive of the R&D initiative. I'll take it further back. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
What's OD?
Operating division. Oh.
Okay.
So I stand on the shoulders of giants because I only took over the R&D role this last year. But there have been giants before me who have laid the foundation. I'm just trying to push it towards the end. And without the support of Transnet leadership, without that general capability, without understanding what R&D can do for us, and I will go so far as to say as without the support of the DPE, because the DPE has to support what we do. Without those pillars of support, we're not achieving anything. So I'm very grateful to all of the stakeholders who actively support R&D and who actively try and help us with the IP protection, the revenue generation, and just generally moving us forward.
The other observation I made is that I see there are a lot more women involved. It is something to be marveled. We know where the well comes from. We know how the stakes have been staggered against women. But what, as an outsider, what a lovely sight to see that the big cheeses here, the engineers, the people who do the work, are women.
Do you know that in the worldwide economy, only 17% of all jobs, worldwide transport economy, are occupied by females? And South Africa has one of the best gender diversity positions in the world. We're one of the very few countries that have advanced gender diversity as much as we have. And Transnet is at the forefront of that, particularly as a state-owned enterprise, moving us forward, ensuring that there are women present, that we have a seat at the table. But the one thing that we don't realize is that it's not just legislation that pushes us forward, it's society. So everybody, men, women, children, we all have to agree that we want to move forward and this is how we're going to create equality. And it's that willingness to move forward that I think gives Transnet its advantage. And if you look at our ExCo, you'll see a large number of females. Brilliant, well-articulated, thoughtful, caring, compassionate people. And I think that's one of the things that women bring, is that other side where it's not just the work. We have that, they say the motherly thing about, I hate it when people say that, but it's true. It's a more holistic view of what work is.
Actually, I was about to, you went ahead of me there. I was going to ask you, what impact does that have on the actual R&D results that we are getting if it's women who are driving it? I know in politics, for instance, where I spend a lot of my time observing politicians, men are prone to war. I mean, you can see Sudan, you can see what's been going on in Russia. It's all men, right? But what impact does this huge gender balance that we have, that you guys have, has on the actual technological advance?
Well, you know, the engineering females would say it's because that they are engineers, not because that they're females, right? And I have a tendency to...
And rightly so.
And rightly so. But what diversity in general, whether it is gender diversity or any other type of diversity does, is it opens your ability to see different perspectives. And I think that is what diversity in general does. And that different perspective has really advanced R&D, in my opinion. Whether it was before I arrived or now, it's that diversity that allows us to see different perspectives. And perspectives are the way that you solve problems.
And we're grateful for the work you do and for your leadership, and we wish you all the best as you carve new pathways for Transnet.
From your lips to God's ears, Milton, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Cam!